You see, finding a table at your first day of school, at a new school, that can be difficult. Finding the table in your first day in prison, complete separate story. Here, here it goes. You know, it doesn't matter if you're racist or not, what your beliefs are or not. Prison is segregated. That's facts. The whites eat with the whites. Spanish eat with the Spanish. Cliques eat with each other. Okay, fair enough. Now, how to make this decision carefully, that's a whole different story, right? You know what I mean? So, like, coming out of county jail, having a bunch of county time under me, being in the streets, associating with different gangs or associations, clubs, all that, families, the hustle and bustle, I was there. I was in the mix, meaning I broke bread with every race possible, especially being from New England. We all break bread with each other. The West Coast politics are a little more different. I would say, from what I've heard, a lot more racially strict. Either way, um, I'm not racist, and I broke bread with every different race. So when I get to prison, where do I eat, right? I'm walking through the chow hall and I got my Spanish homies that might be repping a certain set. And I got my, African homies that are repping a whole different set. And then I got my white boy homies that there's a couple different, who knows? But I just, out of respect, people respect you if you're respectable. If you're not a piece of shit, man, you can make it. And it's not like I had any type of crazy reputation. I just had respect and being genuine, which a lot of people don't have, and that's an issue. Whole separate story. Either way, I know all these people and I have respect for all these people. In prison, I know I have to eat at the white table because that's just the laws of nature. I watch TV with the white guys, things like that. You eat, you walk the yard. You're allowed to communicate with other people and do stuff, but it is not because you're racist. You just don't eat with another race. Typically, I mean, there are definitely occasions to where it happens. And in my prison, I'm in New Hampshire, so for example, Concord, the Chow Hall in Concord, New Hampshire State Prison, is it's there's a couple different chow halls. There's two of them, but the booths are smaller. You're getting more of a dining type booth to where it's like four seats. Some of them even two seats, I think. Um, so it's not like there's a white table, but you will see those guys that reserve the seats. The first one that gets there puts something on each of the seats to make sure that everybody knows it's reserved. The boys are in line getting their food, and they're gonna be sitting there. But that's only a four-person booth. There might be a whole section of white boys or whatever, white dudes. And the same with the everything, they all kind of ate together, but it wasn't like Berlin. When I got to Berlin, there was more picnic table. So you could have like, I don't know, I'd like to say like 20. I think that tables can fit like 20 people on a bench. It's a big picnic table. That might be wrong. I might have it messed up anyway. So like there was two white tables and one was like more of a super white power type table, which I got along with some of those guys. Doesn't mean I agreed with everything, but they're solid. Some of them were solid dudes, and I still get along with them. And then there was like the other white table to where it was like, you didn't have to have a patch or anything to sit at the table, but that's where you were expected to sit if you were white and you were in general population. You know, you couldn't just walk into the chow hall and be like, "Oh, I'm cool with homeboy over here. I'm gonna sit and chill." You could get away with it, but somebody's gonna ask you like, "What's up? Why aren't you sitting with us?" And you know, you have plenty of time to mingle on the block. So it's a whole thing to have to navigate through. And on the first days of prison, when I was in Concord R&D, um, in the bird cages, like I said, those fucking tables were a lot smaller. And I knew from whatever infinite knowledge I had that I was going to try to sit with an old school white dude just to, you know, make sure everything was clean sailing. I didn't know I was getting sent to Berlin. I was really hoping to stay in Concord, but that's not the case. But this is the thing. I didn't know, so I picked this old school white dude that has, you know, tattoos all over his face. He's earned his scars in my eyes. Like I'm thinking this dude's been here, done that. And come to find out, the first 2 days I sat with him, it was all good. And then one serious dude pulled me aside. He's like, "You know who that is?" And I had no fucking idea who that is. I was just trying to get some knowledge. You know, this old man's, he's an OG. So I figured if I sat with him, he would show me the ropes. He's like, "Oh, he's no good, bro." I'm like, what? He's like, "Yeah, no, man, man's got paperwork on him. So I don't recommend sitting with him anymore." So fuck that, dude. I'm upset. Like this old man's trying to fucking play it off like he's an OG, but he's a fucking rat. Not cool, man. So right then I learned that you really had to pay attention because this wasn't county jail. This isn't the streets. These dudes could be doing life sentences. Most of them, a lot of them were, but some of them are still no good. So you have to pick and choose. So that when I get to Berlin, which is, uh, yeah, in my opinion, definitely more serious than Concord. Not that Concord wasn't serious at the time because it was, but Berlin was a shock, you know, because there was no going to sit with somebody else like that during mealtime and shit. You were with one of the two white tables if you were white. And that went with every race. We weren't just the ones making the rules. Like this was known, and it's a known fact in prison. So I just wanted to get to the bottom of it. People call you racist because it's like, no, I couldn't eat with the, you know, with the black kid. You know, I just, well, not during chow time. They hang with their set, we hang with ours. It's just primal instincts because you never know what could happen in that situation. There's always tension with somebody. Even if you yourself aren't in tension, in that environment, there's tension all around. So you need to be able to pay attention. And if something pops off, it could turn into a war. You know, nobody knows that. Next thing you know, we got three of my boys fighting three of my other boys, and you have to fucking pay attention. And there's weapons involved. You know what I mean? So that's just a real life thing. And I'm sharing this because people misconcept that. Like, oh, you're a racist because you ate at the white table. It's like, yo, bro, even with the phones, before there was tablets in prison, when it was only the phones, those were super segregated. There's a white phone, there's a GD phone, there's a Crip phone, there's a blood phone. You know, if you're lucky, there's an independent phone, which a lot of places there wasn't. So you would have to know somebody to get in the phone. And if you were new, you were getting checked over the phone. And if you didn't know and you used somebody else's phone, say it's your first day in prison and nobody fucking let you know that that's a certain set, certain gang phone that nobody else is to touch without permission. And there's a routine to this shit, but you don't know that. You just want to call your people and be like, let them know. Next thing you know, you're getting moved on. You might even get even worse than that. Because what if you took somebody else's phone time and they perceive that as you trying to punk them out? It could be very bad. I had that mistake once. I made that mistake once. I didn't get nothing came out of it, luckily. But when I got to Berlin, this was before tablets were in prison, so the phones were serious. And I'm not racist, and I kind of knew about the segregation about eating with certain people or gambling. You couldn't do. You just politics. You shouldn't do that, right? But I didn't think about the phones, and I grabbed the phone, and I dialed my dad. I'm just trying to talk to my dad on the phone, and there was this man was very respectful. He waited till I finished my conversation with my father, and I hung it up. And as soon as I turned around, he was there, and he was serious. This dude's a serious dude, and he was a Mexican cat, and he let me know, if you don't have permission or don't ask to use our phone, you can't use our phone, no matter what time of day, even if everybody's sleeping. Like, if the phone hasn't been touched all day, doesn't mean you can just go up and use it. And I was like, whoa, okay, thank you. Yeah, my apologies. Thank you for letting me know that. And then I had to go talk to some of the older cats in the white part of there. And they're like, "Oh yeah, well we have two phones right here. So if you need to use the phone, just add, we can work it out because we have two phones that we use." And that was never a problem after that. But people have gotten hurt and checked and really beaten up over disrespecting that, because there's people who be like, you don't own this phone. Like, you're not going to tell me what. And next thing you know, they're in a really bad spot. And they skip their infirmary straight to the med. You know what I mean? So maybe even air flighted. So scary things like that doesn't mean you're racist. That's just the rules in prison. And coming home from that, being reintegrated into to society, trying to be like how to navigate everything because it was so strict, could be a huge struggle for a lot of people. And this video right here is just an example of the nerves of going to lunch the first time at high school, and the nerves of going to lunch your first day in prison, and the same as using the phone, and who to talk to, who you can't talk to, and how crazy it can get. And at the end of the day, that has a huge impact on somebody's life. So there's no there's no denying that. It's just how you can navigate through it and stay strong through it. Me, I look back on it and I'm like, shit was crazy, man. You know. Anyways, Mike Anderson here. Bad Apple Facts. A little bit of prison talk for you. Next video, I might have to do what my favorite prison food was. What do you think about that? Let me know in the comments. Love you guys. Peace.